Hey everyone, and welcome back to Talkin Texana. I'm Rebecca Tasker, and this is Etta Place Part 2. In our last episode, Etta and Sundance had just embarked on a Utah camping trip, and then promptly disappeared for a whole 5 years. The duo eventually made their way to Sundance's family home in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. To the delight of his sisters, he introduced Etta as his wife. He explained that his return from the Wild West was a trip of necessity, as he was in need of specialized medical care for a stubborn gunshot wound to the leg. This, and his impending trip to Argentina. Etta and Sundance wanted to be well rested and recuperated for their extended travel by land and sea. It was in January 1901 that the couple headed to Buffalo, New York. They made their way to Dr. Pierce's Invalids Hotel, a facility that specialized in both hot baths and holistic approaches to chronic medical problems. The curious thing is, there are no hard copies of the medical records, so we really have no way of knowing what it was the couple came in for when they booked the joint appointment, though there is a lot of speculation. Etta had recurring appendix problems, and Sundance had some well-documented sinus infections. That and thinning hair, hammer toe, the works. After Doc fixed what was ailing them, the two toured Niagara Falls like honeymooners. By early February, they found themselves in New York City, awaiting the arrival of their old pal, Butch Cassidy. The reunited trio rented a suite of apartments on stylish West 12th Street, under the aliases Mr. and Mrs. Harry A. Place, in addition to Mrs. Place's brother, Jim Ryan, an alias that Butch often assumed. They signed the registrar Ethel and H. A. Place. This is interesting because Place was actually Sundance's mother's maiden name, and Ethel sounds a lot like Etta. It's been speculated if that was our vivacious vixen's true name. Evidently, the penmanship was horrifying for the time, considering this was a skill that was both highly prized and widely taught. It's possible that Sundance signed for both of them, but it wasn't very likely considering his name was below hers. Men at that time simply wouldn't have written like that. This leads us to further question the identity of Etta Place. After just a few weeks in the Big Apple, February 20th, 1901 marked the departure of the SS Harminius for South America. Just before, the couple stopped to take one of the most famous photos in outlaw history at DeYoung Photography. The couple dressed in the finery of a wedding photo. Sundance wore a coat with tails and had a top hat to his right, and Etta donned a chic gown of dark blue or black velvet, a tiny lapel watch, and the countenance of a woman who would be recognized for her beauty no matter when she lived.
Etta's choice of jewelry that day produced rampant speculation that Butch Cassidy, not Sundance, purchased the watch for her at the famous jeweler, Tiffany's. Records exist of a James Ryan purchasing some kind of watch for a little over $40 earlier that month.
Without consideration for the crazy backstory and the assumed increase of value of a vintage Tiffany's watch model, $40 in 1901 converts to roughly $1,200 today. For reasons unknown, Etta and Sundance made their way to Argentina without Butch. He instead hoofed it back to Wagner, Montana, for a final hurrah in the train robbery trade. The fugitive friends linked back up a year later in Buenos Aires. 3 months later, Etta and Sundance left Butch on their Patagonian ranch and steamed it back up to New York City. This was the first of many return trips to the States from 1901 to 1905. Whether it was homesickness, medical problems, or something else entirely that kept this duo going back and forth, their greatest concern was right around the corner. Unbeknownst to Etta and Sundance, the Pinkerton Detective Agency was hot on their trail. After the discovery of that fateful photo, Pinkerton started its distribution across all of North and South America. Join us next time to learn how it all shook out for our unsuspecting outlaws. Thank y'all for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next time on Talkin Texana.